No, shut up. Don't look at me like that with your mustache.
That's going to be the cold
I'm
open
making
right there.
eye contact with your mustache, and it's giving me the chills. I got chills, and they're multiplying.
Don't look at me with your mustache is going to be the cold open. Don't look at me with your mustache. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I wanted to do something completely different this week. I wanted to focus on a comedy, something that was just a good time. And what I initially planned on doing was The Life of Brian, Monty Python movie. And I kind of wasn't feeling up to it. And it was like last night or the night before when I was watching some interview with Jack Black. And I was like, hey, let's watch something with Jack Black. And I thought, what's on Netflix right now? Nacho Libre might be pretty good. And Jacqueline reminded me of a little movie called Be Kind, Rewind.
I couldn't do Nacho Libre. I could not bring myself to do that. It's a morally reprehensible movie. No, I'm kidding. I just didn't like it. Excuse me. I wasn't like the biggest fan of it to begin with, so I really didn't want to watch it. But I love Jack Black. And Be Kind, Rewind was one of my, one of my earliest purchases when I moved out into my own apartment, I bought a $5 DVD player from the thrift store, and my brother bought me this movie as a joke.
A joke because VHS tapes were not relevant when the movie came out.
Yeah, I bought myself a DVD player. No, he just thought, he was like, here's Jack Black, haha, you're gonna like this. And I'm like, yeah, I probably will, actually, thanks. So I watch it, and I'm like, I love this movie. It's so freaking hilarious, and it's so cute, and so wholesome and sweet, and it's such a good movie.
I was having a major issue by the time the movie was over. My face hurt from smiling so much. For this, this is a pretty underground movie.
I like to call it a hidden gem.
Yeah, that's definitely the best way to put it.
It's a hidden gem.
It's got Mos Def, Jack Black, Danny Glover.
Danny Glover is a really sweet character in
Yes.
this. They're all sweet. So sweet. They're so, like, it's a wholesome movie. It's precious.
Which is something that I think everybody could use.
Yeah. This is like the type of movie you can still watch if your family is Christian.
Yeah, it's a PG-13 movie. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
It's Jack Black in a PG-13 movie. And, you know, he's really funny in the raunchier stuff like Tenacious D and...
He's funny as a wholesome
Tropic Thunder.
too.
Yeah, and but he also works well in these family comedies, these goofy things. Something like Nacho Libre, I feel, is a little too goofy.
Yeah,
School of Rock is like those Jack Black just doing his screaming thing.
Absolutely love School of Rock, though. Absolutely love it. One of my favorite movies. Like, I never gave you a top 10 of my favorite movies, but it's in there somewhere.
Well, we'll have to do an episode where we just talk about our top 10s.
Yeah.
Because I have one.
I'd have to think long
I have
and
a
hard.
written list at the moment.
Don't make me comment on the long and hard. Anyway.
Mos Def. This is the first time I saw Mos Def in anything. And I saw Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy because Mos Def was in it. And
I've actually never seen that yet.
And I went on to just be a huge nerd for Douglas Adams from that point. I read all of his books in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. I didn't read Dirk Gently's or whatever Detective Service. I didn't read that one. But I did read all the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy books. I watched the TV show. It's good stuff. Mos Def in Be Kind, Rewind, his character is this kind of shy, nerdy little fella. Mm-hmm. He's just trying to impress this old father figure character.
Yeah.
Mr. Fletcher.
Mr. Fletcher. He kind of like, basically, we don't really gather too much of like their history so much as it seems like he took him in and under his wing, but he's not his like real father.
Yeah. A tactic in movies that I appreciate greatly when done properly is not beating you over the head with information constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And Be Kind Rewind, to an extent, utilizes that to establish character relationships. You can understand the relationships people have by the way that they talk to each other. Mm-hmm. Mike and Jerry, which is Mos Def and Jack Black characters respectively, they goof around and they kind of have a love-hate relationship towards each other. You can tell they're longtime friends. Mike has such a deep and profound respect for Mr. Fletcher, and it's the very clear father figure type of relationship. You don't really need a lot more than that because this movie's not about
their relationship. It kind of is, but not really. It doesn't focus on that. A lot of it focuses mostly on trying to
this is the classic saving the store.
Saving the store, yeah.
It's a classic trope, not as popular in the last 10 or 15 years because nobody's going to root for capitalism
Nobody roots for capitalism. Who does?
Back in the 80s and 90s, they used to do Saving Grandma's Store all the time. That was like...
But that's not like... That's like a middle finger to capitalism to me. Like, all the mom and pop shops are not like the bigwig stores that are running capitalism, you know? Like,
yeah, but they're still participating in capitalism.
But think about it, like, it's wholesome capitalism. Like, if that makes sense. If there could be such a thing as wholesome capitalism, the mom and pop shops and the small stores, the small businesses that run, like, yeah.
And at the end of the day, it is about the small business in this little town and its struggle, Passaic, New Jersey, its struggle to stay afloat and to keep itself open. We will come to find in the movie that there are troubles with the building. It's not up to code and it's due for demolition by the city. And that's kind of what gets the ball rolling on trying to save the store. However, the main conflict is secondary to what's going on, which is Mike and Jerry goofing around the video rental store. Jack Black's character lives
in a junkyard
next to like a power plant or something.
Something like that.
And it messes with his brain or something in an attempt to sabotage it, to stop the microwaves, as he calls them. He gets electrocuted and develops, he gets magnetized. It is the silliest premise, and it kind of happens, and then it just moves on for the sake of pacing, because that is only to get the plot rolling.
Because he's magnetized, he ends up going into the store and erasing all the tapes.
And this is a video rental store. You need
your tapes.
Yeah, gotta have those tapes.
Gotta have them tapes.
Gotta have them tapes.
Anyway.
Longtime friend, Miss...
I don't even know. She's a sweet old lady.
There's a few minor characters throughout the movie, and there's this sweet old lady who is a friend of Mr. Fletcher, who's checking on the store, and she asks to rent Ghostbusters for her nephew.
I like the fact that she had a note. Like, in the movie, she's, like, looking at this little notepad, and she's, like, asking for Ghostbusters. All confused. Like, she doesn't know what it is, and it's adorable.
And that was Mia Farrow playing...
Oh, yeah.
Playing her.
She's... Okay. I forgot.
Yeah, she did a lot of stuff back in the 80s.
Oh yeah, she is definitely like a huge actress from a long time ago. But
she's doing this little indie film.
It's hard. Would you consider it an indie film?
Yeah, who directed it?
I have no idea. I'm so sorry.
Written and directed by Michael Gondry.
It's a good movie, either way. I don't know. Like, I feel like Jack Black and like Mos Def and stuff, and Danny Glover, like those are some big names to me. Like,
yeah, it's one of those things where like I believe it was New Line Cinemas, so it must have been the studio that picked up the project that got the celebrities involved. Because you know, like that's kind of what it comes down to, is like who the studio can get in the movie and like the funding it can get.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty independent film. It's smaller scale, and it deals with the characters more than actual action set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a big spectacle. It's a little story, which I really, really loved and appreciated about it. I'm pulling up the director here because I believe he directed The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Ooh, I watched that after a breakup, and that was hard.
Michael Gondry was also credited as a writer on that movie. So this guy, as far as writing and directing, he's got some stuff behind him. He's done
got some beef.
He does. And Be Kind Rewind came out a little bit after that movie. So I heard about this movie while watching Attack of the Show on G4.
I remember that.
That's how I learned about this movie. And ironically, I saw it for the first time when my uncle rented it for me at Blockbuster.
That's cute.
I was like, it came out 2008, so this must have been when I was like a junior in high school.
Did you have the mustache?
Of course not.
You didn't have the chops to grow the mustache. Do you think if you rubbed your mustache against the pop filter, it'll make a sound, and an audible sound to pick up?
And then I later purchased the DVD through Best Buy online. It was my first online purchase of anything.
That's precious and adorable.
I loved this movie. For a time when I was a senior in high school and shortly after, I kind of aspired to make movies.
That's precious. Why didn't you? I think you might have mentioned that to me before. Not anything too into detail about it, but yeah, I think you might have mentioned
I have an ancient YouTube channel with some garbage on it.
Do not.
No, I'm not gonna.
Do not drop it.
No, I'm not gonna.
Because you don't want anybody to see that. I don't want anybody.
Of course not.
I don't want anybody to see that because I'm associated with you, and I don't need that garbage rolling around.
She wants to rent Ghostbusters, and all the tapes have been erased.
So what they do, they decide to make Ghostbusters themselves, and it's phenomenal because Jerry is just
incompetent.
Absolutely incompetent, absolutely inept, but he's so funny I can't stop. Like, I love him to death. Like, I love Jack Black. He's ridiculous in the best way possible.
I feel like this movie would be greatly improved if the rest of the movie was just about making Ghostbusters.
No, because
I enjoyed watching them make the movies.
Yeah, it was fun.
After they rent out Ghostbusters, some dude wants to rent Rush Hour 2.
Oh yeah, some dude wants to Rush Hour 2, and they're like, "Come back tomorrow, we're closed," you know?
Yeah, and they're kind of being jerks about it. This whole time, Mr. Fletcher is out of town.
Oh yeah, we forgot to mention that.
On a memorial
trip allegedly, but he's
for
really
Fats Waller.
He's really just trying to gather information from other video stores to try to see what he can do to spruce up his video store.
Yeah, which I don't know why
he didn't. Well, I think he's keeping it a secret because he didn't want Mike's character to realize that they could be going under a lot faster than what they were.
Right. So they leave. Mr. Fletcher leaves Mike in charge, tells him to keep Jerry out, and things go.
Peak Urage
2. He writes on a window with his finger, and it's reversed. And it takes him a minute to figure out what he was saying. We're kind of jumping around, but I think that's fine. I mean, the best I can say is this is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. I love this movie. It's so good. We need to watch movies that we have to rip on though, because we're praising it too much. Yeah. Rip on. I think the little kids were kind of annoying. Yeah, the kids were annoying. Yeah. Yeah, little kids can be annoying though. The nephew of Mia Farrow's character comes back and Craig is like, what else you got? he comes up, he slams Ghostbusters down. He goes, this was good. What else you got? And so they pick from two movies, and the new girl that they brought in as their secondary lead, the female lead in their movies, from a laundromat? Yeah, a dry cleaner. A dry cleaner, yes. She slipped in The Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
And they go and they make RoboCop and The Lion King for these dudes. And Lion King is done with these massive, like, butcher paper cutouts.
It's so
hand-drawn.
funny. And she's doing the voiceovers.
I will piss on your family's grave.
I will piss on the heads of your ancestors. It's so funny.
And then they do RoboCop, and they have this like junkyard costume for Jerry.
I love it.
And the timeline gets a little screwy because so far 2 people have seen their movies, and they have a line of customers because of how like well known they are, and Jack Black is getting like fans coming up to him as he's dressed as RoboCop, and only a couple people have seen the movies. But we are
the couple people. So yeah, actually, no, you're right. Like that's kind of weird.
But I'm gonna give it a pass because gotta give them something that they fucked up on, right? You know?
Yeah. The whole movie is great, so there's going to be a few little things.
Yeah, so here and there's going to be little discrepancies and continuity issues, but on the whole, this is such a good movie for people that love movies. If you have ever enjoyed movies on a technical level or thought that the process of writing or directing a movie was interesting, this is just a rip-roaring good time.
It's great.
It really, really is.
We're just like, it's been 20 minutes of just us saying how great the movie is.
It's great.
It's great.
It's great.
It's so funny.
They do a whole montage of movies that they make. And when they say that they're charging $20 per movie, they say it's because they're sweeted. They're sweeted. They got to be imported.
From Sweden.
And they have this following in the community, and this is where the movie starts picking up, and you start to see
more and more like community members.
People, friends, just coming together to see these movies that they're making, and they decide they could make more movies if they weren't the only ones doing it. So they have people in the movies that they want to rent. And so Mia Farrow comes in to rent Driving Miss Daisy. Oh. And then she's playing Miss Daisy and Mr. Fletcher's driving Miss Daisy.
That was wholesome. We had
sweet.
We had a split second where we like looked at each other and we were like, did you just get the warm and fuzzies? And he's like, yes, I got all warm inside. And it was cute. It was so sweet.
And we start to see that just warm and welcoming feeling of community coming together, creating something, which I'm always very passionate about. You know me. I'm a nerd.
They don't know you, but they
you,
will.
Jack, know me.
Unfortunately.
That the creative drive and the passion to do something is what drives me the most. And seeing that in this movie and seeing how infectious it is very heartwarming to me. And we do get ourselves a bit of conflict when Sigourney Weaver pops up.
Oh, God. I don't like her in general.
I love Sigourney Weaver.
Why?
She pops up and...
I love you just completely ignored my question. Just like, why?
Because if I say why, I'm going to realize it might not have been her in the movie.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't she in Holes?
Yes.
Yes. Fucking love.
I've never seen Holes, but I'm pretty sure it was her.
I love that movie. It's good. It's
Holes.
really good.
You just like Holes.
It's a good book.
Oh.
And we get one of the only major moments of conflict in the movie, which is they destroy all the tapes.
One of the conflicts.
Yeah, one of two. Mm-hmm. They destroy all the tapes, and Mr. Fletcher tells Mike and Jerry that the store's closing down unless they can raise the money, $60,000
or something. It's a large and arbitrary amount.
Not only that, he tells him that the story that he told him about Fats Waller being born in this video store isn't true.
Which, by the way, there's a lot of Fats Waller references. A lot of like
they put his music in the soundtrack a couple of times, and
they talk about it quite a bit.
The movie opens with Fats Waller was born. On whatever Main Street.
261 Main Street.
261 Main Street, right in this building. And we start seeing snippets from the biopic that they make at the end of the movie. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Spoilies.
Spoilies.
And it's a really nice foreshadowing of where they go,
where they're going
Yeah.
with what they're doing. And
because you see them doing Ghostbusters and it's goofy and terrible, and then they've got these snippets from this black and white picture that they did that look really good. While Mr. Fletcher is ready to just close up shop and give up,
call
and
it quits.
Mike is too. Jerry gets the entire community together and they say, we're going to make one more movie together.
And they can't tell us that we can't do our own story.
Yeah, they're gonna do their own movie and they're gonna make it themselves. They can't sue us for making our own product, because that's what it was. They were recording over tapes, which are technically legally the property of the studio. You just have the rights to view it when you purchase it. It's this whole weird legal thing about
Yeah, it's stupid.
purchasing something, either physically or digitally. You don't own the rights to it. You just get to watch it, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
I mean, there's a whole thing there about being transformative, being free speech, parody, homages.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole thing to be said there that I don't really think we'd have time to get into. But it's like it's a whole issue with people that are creating for YouTube
and other like using already published not public content or not for public content.
Yeah, like movie reviews even. Hey.
Ta-da!
You could even say that even us just recapping the movie is violating the copyright of New Line Cinema.
Oh well. Come at me, bro.
If they did, I'd consider that a win.
Yeah, because that would give us a lot of publicity.
Yeah, and that means we're also big enough for them to pay attention to us. Let me just pause real quick because I have to go to the bathroom. Anywho's that whole break. We're back from the break. We'd left off. We were talking about the people of Passaic, New Jersey. Thank you.
People of Passaic.
The people of Passaic, New Jersey.
The people of Passaic. Anyway.
They come together and they want to make a one last movie with Mike and Jerry and Mr. Fletcher, and they decide to do it about Fats Waller. And they all come together in just one of the best, wholesome, most incredible moments of the movie. They all come together to make this movie together. Mm-hmm. And it's not just these two guys in the video shop anymore. It's the whole town. Mm-hmm. They interview people about Fats Waller, and they're taking a page from Mr. Fletcher, who was making up stories about Fats being born there to make Mike feel better about being
I
stuck
like to
there.
call them creative liberties.
They took creative liberties, thank you, with the history, and they just interviewed people, and they said, well, my grandma saw Fats Waller perform at the church, and my uncle saved his life. They just told stories, and, they weren't true, but it was the community coming together to create something, and it was really beautiful. And then they start filming. They start filming, and Mr. Fletcher puts a fan in front of it, to make
it look like the old-timey cameras.
Then he puts a record player underneath it, and then he puts the recorder with the voiceover. Like the camera is now just this big box that they point, and it's got the fan, it's got everything all together, and they're shooting these vignettes and scenes about Fats Waller's life. They do his birth. They have a hole cut in the bed, and they just pull a kid out from the hole. He's like 10.
10 years old. The kid looks like he's 10 years old, just popping out,
And it's people doing what they can to help out, and it starts to grow and get bigger. They make these cardboard cutouts of
those
old cars. And it's used at the beginning of the movie, and I didn't even realize they were cardboard cutouts the first time I saw the movie. Mm-hmm. Like, it looked really good. And it starts getting bigger and bigger. More people get involved. They steal a train to film his death.
I think they straight up, I think it was an accident, for the most part, because Jerry was kind of just like, how do you drive this thing? And someone else was just like, well, you click all these things, and then he starts doing it, and then it just starts going. Yeah,
and then they get this they get this footage on this little camera of the train passing crossing the river. There's a scene where they're talking about him playing in clubs and all the people dancing, and there's these home being demolished that's been ripped in half, and you can see the top and bottom floor where it's still standing, and they had people standing on the top jumping, and the floor was moving, and they shot it with a crane that they hijacked on the construction site, and they put the camera on it, and it was just so, it was like just using what they had.
I consider this the guerrilla movie making concept, like freeform, like use what you got, go for it. Guerrilla movie making, and
it worked. It worked. It
so
made such a good. I talked about this during Hedwig and the Angry Inch, where
with
I
the
said
indie feel.
Not just the indie feel. I talked about that a little bit, but I was mostly getting at the go out and create, go out and do something. People, this is a movie where a community gets together to create something, and it's beautiful, and everybody's having such a good time with it, no matter what the product was, and no matter the circumstances of the video store. They're just all having such a great time with it and having so much fun, and it makes you feel good.
It's a definite feel-good movie. It's a really, wholesome, if you want something that is going to make you laugh and
maybe make you cry
a little bit. I may have or may not have teared up towards the end when
they're screening the movie, and they're trying to get the TV, this little black and white TV in the radio. There I go again, video rental store, and it falls and breaks, and someone from a friend of theirs from the DVD rental store comes in with the massive projector from the store, and they hang a curtain in the window and they project it on the wall, and they watch the movie that way. And
technically it's through the window though, because that's an important key. Because
because they're watching it inside the store, and suddenly they start hearing applause, and they go outside, and the whole town is gathered.
The whole town is watching this movie through their windows, the video store window,
and it's this heartwarming, swelling moment of.
I may have cried a little bit.
The panning across the people, they're all cheering. Some of them are holding the instruments that they used in the movie. They got a school bus pulled up, and people are sitting on top of the school bus. They're crowding around this store watching this. And the people from the development planner's office are gonna close them down, and they say, give us 1 hour, and they're like, okay. And he says something to Mr. Fletcher, and we don't hear it. And that's where the movie ends. The credits roll with the ending of the screening of the story of Fats Waller. Fats Waller was born here, as they called it. We don't need that resolution of did the store get saved. We don't need that confirmation, because what mattered, and it makes sense dramatically in the movie. The important part was the town coming together.
The town coming together and backing them and being behind them 100%.
Yeah, and creating something and working together and taking control of the story that they wanted to tell. No one was going to make a movie about Passaic, New Jersey, so they did. And that's the kind of attitude that I have towards when I say go out and create. I'm not saying make it your own damn self. I'm saying
maybe find someone who shares a vision.
Yeah.
Or I can't reach you. You're too far. My short little T-Rex arms.
Yeah, find someone who shares a vision with you. If you have an idea, I think you really should
reach out.
You should do it.
Reach out.
And with everything going on right now, I think it's a good time to do it.
It's a very good time. If you have time on your hands.
Which you do, probably.
Most likely. Not me.
15 million people out of jobs right now. I think some people are going to have,
a good amount of time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and I'm sorry to hear that.
And that's why I think Be Kind, Rewind is the perfect movie to watch right now, because it's idea,
a sense of community.
The sense of community, the idea of creating something out of nothing, and it's so positive.
It really is.
The moments of unease and unrest that come from gripping conflict. You don't get that here.
There isn't much, anyway. There's a few parts where he's, you can see, and Mos Def is a great actor, by the way.
And so is Danny Glover. His struggling to keep the store. He's fighting to try and keep his store and his piece of the pie. And you see him as an old man trying to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what the movie's about.
But it definitely lends something to the heartwarming sensibility of this movie.
Absolutely.
Because he's so sweet, and he's so, like, he's an elderly man and owns a small business. And, like, a lot of people nowadays can relate to it, especially the fact that, like, you know, a small business leaning towards being potentially closed.
It's always going to be relevant.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Really relevant.
And we didn't even talk about Melanie Diaz, who plays Alma.
Alma, and she's so cute. She's
cute.
The cutest thing.
Fierce.
She's so precious. Like, I just love everything about her, like, in this movie. And we don't really see her in other movies, to be honest, that much.
And there's a lot to say about a woman being in a movie and not being the star, you know, not being the lead. She's a supporting character, but she has a commanding presence.
The thing that I like about this is they don't purposely make her a romantic lead. Like, there's a part where there's, like, a potential romance, but at the same time, they kind of shoot it down.
Yeah, they dance around it a whole lot.
Not really.
And
like,
yeah.
it's like that one scene is, like, the only scene that I can recall that really makes it seem like there could be a potential romance there.
And Mos Def is saying, no, I don't hate your mustache.
I absolutely hate your mustache, though.
Danny Glover as the old father figure, Jack Black as the lovable goof, Mos Def as the straight man. It's all perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It's so heartwarming and so wholesome. There's nothing bad to say about it.
What was bad to say about it is we've already discussed the minor things, like the continuity errors, you know, the minimal continuity errors.
It's not going to take you out of the movie at all. It's
not at all.
So
probably wouldn't have even noticed if we didn't point it out.
Yeah.
There's so much to be said about this movie, but, like, there isn't really a lot to say at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's easier to make fun of a movie that's terrible than it is to praise a movie for 40 minutes. I mean, I can continue to say how much I love it. I love it so much. It's good.
It's a really good movie.
I can't.
It's wholesome.
I'm going to have to revisit my top 10 list to see if this fits on there.
I don't even remember your top 10, but we don't. Are we going to do it? When are we going to do that?
Maybe we can do another one at some other point.
Yeah, we can do it. Let's just title that episode The Top 10 and leave it at that. Just leave it. Leave it all mysterious.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say that my top 10 are the best movies ever, but
it's just your favorite.
Yeah. In fact, I'll even admit that there are movies on there that are not as good as movies that are not. Like, there are just things that I personally hold to a higher regard for personal reasons.
Mm-hmm. Just like me and Hedwig.
Right. There are movies on there that are, you know, flawed or
not great,
objectively speaking, but they're my favorites. They're my top 10 favorite movies.
Yeah.
It's not going to look like anybody else's top 10 list, and that's fine. That's always what's
everybody
beautiful
has their own top 10.
Be Kind Rewind. Wholesome, hilarious, great for movie fans. Jacqueline, how many Jack snacks do you give this one?
I'm gonna say 4 out of 5 Jack snacks, because it's not perfect, but it's pretty dang good.
It doesn't have that dramatic or like emotional gut punch that
I don't have like an emotional connection to it, but it's still a great movie.
I'll give you that. It doesn't leave a lasting impression. You're not gonna.
That's why you forgot about it.
Yeah, look at that. However, I think I'm gonna have to give this a perfect 5 out of 5.
If you
5 out of 5 Butterfingers, you know?
Okay, Butterfinger. I was gonna say if you say like Juju beads or whatever those are.
I was thinking about the cookie dough, whatever those are.
What about? Oh no,
what are
you've
those
already
called?
Used. I don't know.
They're little chocolate covered cookie dough bites.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember what.
Raisinets are pretty good too.
I hate Raisinets.
I mean, you have to like raisins.
I don't.
But yeah, I'm gonna give this one a 5 out of 5. I really think it deserves it.
It's a great movie. I'm not gonna change my score.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like I said, it's for movie lovers. If you like movies,
And you want if you want to see how you can throw together your own movies without all sorts of special effects, you can make your own special effects by doing stuff that they were doing.
Yeah, if you want to get creative, there are some things that they do that are like actually pretty awesome.
Clever,
Yeah.
really clever.
They put they had a car in the background and they put spools that like industrial wire come on.
Yeah.
And they glued toy cars to it and they spun it and they flipped the camera over, and that was the scene in Men in Black when they were driving upside down
in the tunnel.
You know, things like that. They did they had a can of whipped cream that they used it for when the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man exploded. There's so many just clever creative ideas that are adorable that are gonna, if you want to go out and create something and you're on a budget, there's a whole thing about that. You've seen those on Facebook, like the low budget remakes where it's like a shot for shot thing, but they use things that are in the house and they're kind of goofy, but they're doing like a shot for shot thing. I think that doing something like sweeting a movie yourself would be
easy to do
and just leagues more entertaining than a shot for shot remake side by side comparison of a single scene.
Yeah, just get out there and do it yourself. Have fun. Enjoy yourself.
Create something,
yes.
But most importantly, let's watch something. Next week we got I'm sorry, I just wanted to take advantage of that. We were clearly setting that up.
I wasn't, but okay.
It flowed really nicely.
It did.
Next week, I can tell you, we'll be doing Murder by Numbers, a movie recommended by Jacqueline, and to give you a peek into my top 10. Next up on the list is Castaway. That sits somewhere on my top 10. Who knows? Maybe we'll talk about that right now.
Right now?
Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, let's watch something.
Let's watch something.